Tonight on Hannity and Combs, terror on tape. Muslim radicals are caught in a British mosque talking about their war with the West.
How do we liberate Muslim land? Jihad fi sabilillah.
Plus, a scary new government report on Al-Qaeda's threat to America. Open mic. John Edwards and Hillary Clinton are caught in a whisper campaign, and Dennis Kucinich is outraged. And outrage, a preacher admits to molesting his own children and gets no jail time. All of that plus more fallout from a senator's dealings with the D.C. madam. Hannity and Combs starts right here, right now. And welcome to Hannity and Combs. Thank you for being with us. I'm Sean Hannity. We get right to our top story tonight. Radical Islam is on the rise in Europe, as evidenced by this month's attack at the Glasgow airport and the foiled bombing attempt in London. But new audio tapes reveal just how dangerous this fanaticism has become. Now take a listen to portions of what were recorded inside of a London mosque.
Democracy, hypocrisy! Democracy, hypocrisy! Tony Blair, terrorist! Tony Blair, terrorist! Tony Blair, murderer! Tony Blair, murderer! Queen Elizabeth, go to hell! Queen Elizabeth, go to hell! Now they are saying they want to make him a Middle East envoy. Inshallah, he'll go to the Middle East as an envoy, and he'll come back in a box. Brothers and sisters, make no mistake. Make no mistake, the British government, the Queen, the MPs in this country, they are enemies to you, enemies to Allah, and enemies to the Muslims.
I don't believe there's anything called freedom of religion, because freedom is an absolute term. Because what is religion? Religion per se is a set of ideals, set of customs that people adhere to. Now, are we to say that Muslims, for instance, can practice Islam fully in America? Say, for instance, I was a Muslim in America. Could I call for the destruction of the American government and call for the Islamic State in America? No. So where's the freedom of religion? There is none.
Joining us now is the radio host who made those recordings, nationally syndicated radio host Rusty Humphries, and the editor of WorldNetDaily.com, Joseph Farah, is back with us. Guys, welcome back to both of you. Good to see you. Rusty, this is chilling and this is frightening. I want you to explain, the circumstances under which these tapes were recorded, and were these considered mainstream mosques?
Well, Sean, I had gone to Afghanistan, and after Afghanistan went to London just to go see what was going on, and I went to the London Central Mosque, which is supposed to be pretty moderate. I went there because I'd been hearing that things had been happening, and when I got there, these protests were going on, and there was about 3,000 people there. And what was really surprising to me is I didn't hear anybody say, "You're not speaking in my name, you're not speaking for me, be quiet." What I saw was 3,000 people cheering and chanting in agreement.
Yeah, Joe Farah, you've been chronicling this in a lot of detail now on WorldNet Daily, and I've been reading often the things you have. We showed tapes on our Sunday night program where supposedly mainstream mosques, we hear the anger, we hear the antipathy, we hear the talk about Blair and, this desire for an Islamic State. What's frightening about this is supposed to be from mainstream Islam where these tapes are being recorded. Isn't that the problem?
Well, it is, Sean, and this particular incident that Rusty was fortunate enough to record for us took place in what is now called Londonistan, but it could just as easily have been taking place in Washingtonistan. You know that these types of activities are going on every single day in the United States of America. Our enemies are here. They're not just in Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan. And these people are very comfortable. If you notice their demeanor, they're comfortable. These are people who are recruiting. And I think it's time that we made them feel a little bit of discomfort.
Yeah, well, Rusty, I want to give a little bit more detail in terms of the circumstances. Did you personally go in? Were they not aware you were there, or were they just not aware you were recording this?
They were aware. It was Friday night prayers, prayers like they have every Friday, and I was there, and they didn't seem to mind too much. Let me tell you, Joseph is absolutely right. There was no fear with what they had to say, and there were police standing right there, and they had no problem saying what they had to say.
Joe, with all that we've now developed and the videotapes that we were able to show, these recordings that you've had, other instances, there's been a lot of talk about the silence of moderate Muslims, you know, not being as openly critical against those that would hijack their religion. Does this all come together for you? Is this a bigger problem, in other words, sympathy for the extremist movement, than maybe the world is willing to face?
Yes, it does. It particularly hits home for me, Sean. As you know, I'm the grandson of Arab immigrants into this country, people who fled the Middle East to get away from this kind of oppression, this kind of hatred. They came to America for a better life, and here we are a couple of generations later, and we've got massive tides of immigration by Muslims into this country. You know, most of the Arabs in this country are still Christians, or at least culturally from a Christian background.
Joe
but
and
that
Rusty,
is changing.
I think the real question here, Rusty, is how big is the threat you're talking about? And you, according to WorldNet Daily, you're claiming that there were 3,000 people at this demonstration. And yet, a little research today that we did shows that, according to the London Daily Star, there were 24 protesters, and also said that most of the 1,000 worshippers streaming out of the mosque after the prayers ignored the demonstrators as they ranted through megaphones. Chicago Tribune put the number at 100.
Well, I mean,
the Guardian, hold on, let me just finish up and I'll ask you the question. The Guardian says 20 demonstrators protested at the mosque in London. You're saying 3,000. There's nothing to corroborate the number that you say.
Well, first of all, you're talking about protesters or people that were speaking. There was about 20 people speaking, and there were thousands of people watching them. And I'll tell you something else that was shocking to me is how many women were in full burqas in the middle of London. This is a concern that we can sit around and not pay attention to.
Because someone's in a burqa and they want to kill us?
Alan, I didn't say that, but I will tell you that they want to change Western civilization. They don't think Western civilization should exist.
Right.
I was told that, and I was also told that hey, Islam is going to take over. We have no choice.
You're told that by a few radicals, Rusty. And Joe Farah,
Alan, that's the thing. It's not radical. That's the thing.
Yes,
you want to say that these are radical.
Yeah, they're radical.
Okay, well, they're the ones following the Quran. Yeah. That's what they tell me.
They're not following the Quran. That's the point.
I could read you a verse, chapter and verse, Alan.
Joe Farah, as the editor,
you can make excuses if you want. Go ahead.
No, I think you're overstating the case here. When you say 3,000, and every other publication that reported on this said 20, a couple of dozen, 100 if you want to say the most that I saw. Joe Farah, did you double check any of these figures?
You know what, Alan? You want to question me, but hold on a second. There were 3 floors of people that were in the mosque praying. 3 floors of people. There were thousands of people there.
They were not the ones outside demonstrating. Joe Farah, did you check? Did you do any fact check on this before you published these numbers, Joe?
I'd be happy to answer.
Am I a liar, Alan? Is that it?
I'm simply saying that all the other pieces of literature on this demonstration had very different numbers than the ones you have.
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer the question. My reporter, my Jerusalem bureau chief, was traveling with Rusty. He was there as well. He told me this is one of the largest mosques, or perhaps the largest mosque in London. It has thousands and thousands of people who go there. This was Friday night prayers, so that place was
packed. They were not the demonstrators. They were observers at the mosque. These weren't the people demonstrating saying death to America and the audio tapes we played earlier. These are people who ignored, according to this report, the people as they filed out of the mosque.
Some people left, absolutely. Nobody stood up and said, you're not speaking in my name. Nobody said that you're wrong. Nobody stood up and said, hey, stop what you're doing. You're hurting Islam. Not one person. Did everybody that was at that prayer meeting stay and participate in the protest? No. But quite a few of them did. Thousands did.
All right, Rusty and Joe, thank you both for the shocking report. Appreciate it. And still to come tonight, more on the strength and capability.